Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for allowing me to talk about our experiences with cloudburst protection in Copenhagen. I'm sorry that I couldn't participate in person, but unfortunately, I'm at home under the covers. We at Rampel have had a central role in the planning and preliminary executions of the cloudburst project in Copenhagen. In this presentation, I want to give you an insight into the experiences that we and the municipality of Copenhagen have gained so far. First of all, it's important to emphasize that my presentation should not at all be seen as a criticism of the work in Copenhagen. On the contrary, the municipality of Copenhagen and HO4, the utility company in Copenhagen, are forerunners, have done an impressive job, and have helped to create a completely new approach to cloudburst protection and climate adaptation, which, among other things, has now also reached the USA, where Rampel, together with the municipality of Copenhagen, currently are involved in the cloudburst protection of New York City. In my presentation, I will initially tell you about the background for the cloudburst protection in Copenhagen. I will then focus on the experiences from Copenhagen. And finally, I will briefly touch on how experiences can be and are applied in Sweden and other parts of the Nordic region. Cloudburst management in Copenhagen was initiated due to a number of large cloudbursts in the period from 2007 to 2014. The cloudbursts each cost the insurance companies up to 5 billion Danish kroner, eller kroner, which is approximately 7.6 billion Swedish kroner. In addition to that, self-insured infrastructure owners experienced losses in the same range. On top of this, the cloudburst caused large additional socioeconomic losses, indirect damage in terms of loss of income, etc. Furthermore, the floods from the cloudburst led to contamination of recipients in particular and illness after contact with the mixed wastewater from the sewer system. All these consequences led to an increased political focus on reducing the risk of new cloudbursts, and therefore cloudburst planning process was started. Here is the timeline for cloudburst management in Copenhagen, which was seriously initiated with the Climate Adaptation Plan for Copenhagen in 2009 and which led to the implementation of the first projects after 2014. On the following slides, I will go a little more in depth with the various elements of the timeline. Cloudburst planning started with Copenhagen municipality preparing a climate plan as a prelude to COP15 in Copenhagen. The climate plan focused on reducing CO2 emission in specific sectors, for example, transport, buildings, and utilities. In the climate plan, there was a short introduction to climate change hazard and climate adaptation. It is the first time that climate adaptation is seriously mentioned in the governing planning. Based on the climate plan, the municipality of Copenhagen initiated the work of having a unified hydraulic planning basis for the whole of Copenhagen. In 2011, a climate adaptation plan for Copenhagen was drawn up and adopted. It focused, among other things, on identifying primary and secondary climate risk based on screening, risk mapping, and prioritizing investments in the primary risks. In 2012, cloudburst management plans were drawn up. In the plans, for the first time, measures were taken to reduce the risk of cloudbursts. The cloudburst plans also included socioeconomic calculations to determine the optimal level of service, delineations of catchment areas, and a prioritization between catchment areas based on risk. The measures that were used in the cloudburst plans were mainly nature-based solutions, which not only reduced the risk of cloudbursts, but which also added a number of added value. In the catchment and concretization plans, which were made in immediate continuation of the cloudburst management plans, the plans for the catchments were further specified and detailed. Detailed data was collected and detailed hydraulic analysis were carried out for each catchment, which, among other things, formed the basis for detailed risk mapping, the preparation of different master plans for each catchment, cost-benefit analysis at catchment level, and designation of projects. Based on the catchment and concretization plans, an investment statement was created, which included an investment plan and budget for the various projects. With a politically agreed investment plan, it was possible to initiate design and construction of specific projects. This work has been ongoing since 2014 and has already reduced risk and changes to the traditional cityscape. Here you can see a selection of the projects that have already been implemented. In the upper left corner, you see St. Anne Square, which was one of the first major projects constructed in Copenhagen. Remiseparken and Carlsberg Town are also highlighted. All three of these projects were carried out by Rambøll. You can also see a picture of Skandiagade, which was carried out by En til En Landscape, Enghaveparken, which is done by Tredje Natur and Cowi, and Tåsinge Plads, which is by Lyt and VSP. Common to all projects is that they are based on nature-based solutions. The overall experience from cloudburst management in Copenhagen is that cloudburst management is easier to work with on paper than in reality. However, with a good planning and a focus on implementation in all phases, it is possible to establish cloudburst protection while also creating added value. We have all learned a great deal from cloudburst management in Copenhagen, and we have gained a lot of experience. Some of the general experience we have gained is that it is absolutely central that there is a close collaboration between the utility company and the municipality, or in a Swedish context, between the water department and the rest of the municipality. In addition, it has been shown that there is a very great need for internal coordination across administrations in the municipality, as nature-based solutions place completely new demands on the design of urban spaces, such as streets, parks, and squares. It is therefore also important that you are willing to challenge the traditional use of urban space. This has proven to be difficult, as we work in a conservative industry where roads are mainly for driving. Another very important experience is that it is crucial to involve the environmental authority and the road authority already in the planning, so that frameworks and requirements are coordinated from the initial phases of the planning. The fact that frameworks and requirements for the environment have not been finally coordinated and agreed upon has given rise to some rather large challenges, which I will return to a little later. Cloudburst protection is long-term and costly. It spans many election periods and new legislation. It is important that there are clear agreements and frameworks for the financing. Otherwise, there is a risk that the project drag on for a long time. This has been experienced on several projects in Copenhagen. If the projects are to be carried out and the nature-based solutions incorporated in a good way, it is also important to involve stakeholders and citizens in the planning and design. Otherwise, you risk having them as opponents. The planning must be carried out at a level of detail which ensure that the projects arising from the plans are feasible and buildable. I will return to that later. As I mentioned before, I would like to return to the importance of the environmental authority in particular being involved and requirements being agreed on at an early stage. It is generally easier and less risky to dream big in the initial phases. But as the project must be concretized and implemented, compromises must be made, and one must dare to challenge environmental requirements, etc. Several concrete cases in Copenhagen have taught us the lesson that proposed solutions are not anchored and coordinated across administration, which results in projects where key parts from the initial planning cannot be implemented due to, for example, environmental reasons or feared effects on the traffic and accessibility. This often causes loops in the planning process as the previously laid out plans rely on elements that can no longer be implemented, and those major revisions of the plans may be necessary. Example of this are several projects where plans to utilize the inner lakes in the center of Copenhagen as recipient for rainwater have had to be abandoned. In the original cloudburst plans, there was also a dream of establishing a large cloudburst project in Sankt Jørgens Sø, one of the inner lakes, and substantially remodeling the lake. This part of the cloudburst plans was later removed due to political, conservation, and environmental reasons. Another important experience, which I have also already touched on, is that it is crucial that the plans are robust and buildable before the project work is started. In Copenhagen, the implementation of the project was initiated on the basis of the initial catchment and concretization plans. However, it quickly became apparent that many of the projects were difficult or even impossible to implement, and the framework for the project had to be changed significantly. This meant that the project often dragged out and on that basis, in 2019, most projects were put on standby and the preparation of new master plans was initiated, where the catchment and concretization plans are further detailed with an increased focus on buildability. In addition, a large number of technical experience have been gained from the project that have been realized. Some of the technical experiences gained are, among other things, that solutions often require deviation from normal practice in relation to traffic safety and accessibility. New edges and curbstones will arise in the urban space, which will impair both traffic safety and accessibility. Some road profiles are more advantageous than others. At the beginning, there was a lot of talk about fundamentally changing the design of road profiles, but in many cases, this has proven to be difficult and costly. It is very difficult to alter the flow direction of moving water. When water flows on the surface, it is typically large quantity of water at high velocities, which make the streams of water difficult to manage and alter flow directions, both vertically and horizontally. Finally, I will touch upon how the experiences from Copenhagen can be used in Sweden or other countries. Copenhagen has been a leading city in relation to cloudburst management and nature-based solutions, and therefore there's certainly a lot of experience and knowledge that others can benefit from. In order for the experiences and lessons learned to be used elsewhere, it is absolutely fundamental that we become better at sharing knowledge and exchanging our experiences. As long as it is not efficiently shared, the knowledge and experiences cannot benefit in neither Sweden or other countries. The exchange of knowledge should take place both between municipalities and between municipalities and consultants. An example of where the experience from Copenhagen has been used is in the preparation of the method description for cloudburst management, which we helped to prepare for Göteborgstad in 2019. Here we from Denmark contributed with our experience from Copenhagen so that the methods took into account the learning that has been achieved in Denmark. Another example I can mention is that we, together with our Norwegian colleagues, are currently involved in the preparation of a design guide for cloudburst protection in Oslo for Oslo municipality, where we also ensure that the experiences from Copenhagen and the larger Danish cities are incorporated. Finally, I want to thanks for listening. You are very welcome to contact me if you have any questions or if you want to discuss and exchange experiences that can be utilized in Göteborg, Stockholm, or another city in the Nordics. Thank you.